Ja, takole mislim, da smo zdaj vsi zbrani in lahko ob tej priložnosti še enkrat se seveda zahvalimo našemu gostu Diego Hergueri, ki nam je prinesel oziroma pripeljal film Sultanine sanje. Verjamem, da je to vseeno ena posebna priložnost tudi za nas, ki radi uživamo takole ob sredinjih dopoldnevih, ob filmskih srečanjih ob kavi, kajti tokrat smo imeli priložnost videti animirani film in le ta nam je ponudil, jaz verjamem, tudi veliko izhodišč za debato. Tako da bomo veseli vseh vaših vprašanj, naj bodo zastavljena v slovenščini ali v angleščini, brez skrbi, lahko jih zastavite torej tudi v slovenskem jeziku in jih prevedemo. Mogoče biti za začetek toliko, da predstavimo gosta nekaj vprašanj o samem filmu. Diego, thank you for being with us and of course thank you for bringing this great movie to our audience. I wanted to know more about you, about your connection with Isabel, about how did everything happen, because I think we've seen how it all started also in the movie. Yes. It was actually an anecdote from a bookshop in India where she found a book that she immediately knew will be her new project.
Her new project, yeah. Yeah, she found that book, I think, 15 or 20 years ago. That's where it all, 15 years ago, that's when it all started. The movie started as a short film, which we will see tomorrow at the masterclass. And it's a short film that investigates the importance or the relevance of the story, Sultana's Dream, which is a real book, published by a Muslim woman, as you've seen in 1905. And so this opened like so many questions for Isabel. So she wanted to see if it was still relevant today, what the meaning was today in India and in Europe. So then it started as a short film with workshops with Mehndi artists. And then she decided, like, no, it has to be a documentary to really involve everything around the book and around Isabel in India and what it means to be Westerner, to go to an Indian, to go to an Eastern thought, but also a novel that's like a universal utopia. And then one day, like, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, Isabel calls me and she says, we're turning it into an animation feature, just like that. So that's when all of a sudden the project became very serious, the complexity of the project grew a lot, because to do an animation film, it's a very slow and long process. And I guess that's when I sort of became closer to the project, until one day she called me and she said, we're going to India, this is happening. And I was working in Mies van der Rohe Foundation in Barcelona. I come from architecture. And I called my boss and I said, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna leave and do this beautiful project. He understood, and that's when I came on board. And I started, doing production in India and taking pictures and scanning. And then little by little, I started taking more responsibility in the project and ended up producing it and finding money and making sure that we get to the end of it and just accompanying it, because this is a very handmade film. You have to walk with it by hand and, take care of it until it's finally born. Yeah.
Ja, kot pravi Diego, pred 15 leti se je vse skupaj začelo, ko je njegova teta, Isabel, avtorica filma, v Indiji v eni izmed knjigarn čisto po naključju našla knjigo. In sicer jo je ta knjiga hitro spodbudila, da je najprej naredila kratek film, potem pa je seveda vse skupaj raziskovala dalje in razmišljala o tem, da bi bilo potrebno narediti dokumentarni film. Knjiga je šla leta 1905, gre za zgodbo muslimanke, ki opisuje, kakšen bi bil lahko svet, kot ste lahko videli tudi v filmu, ki bi mu vladale ženske. In še vedno je razmišljala o tem, koliko je ta tema aktualna v Indiji oziroma v Evropi 100 let kasneje, po izidu knjige. Iz kratkega je sprva torej šla v dokumentarni film in se šele kasneje zavedala, da potrebuje animirani film. Sam proces animiranega filma je dolgotrajen, izjemno počasen, ampak tudi kompleksen. Hkrati pa je nekako uspel združiti vse tisto, kar je Isabel želela. Tako da so potem odšli v Indijo. Sam Diego pravi, da je arhitekt, delal je v Barceloni in pustil službo, zato da je šel svoji teti pomagati v Indijo kot producent. Tam je nabiral različne najprej fotografije, poizkušal iskati lokacije, različne igralke, ki bi lahko upodobile glasove in tako je postal producent filma svoje tete in zato je tudi danes z nami. Diego, about the adaptations of the book, of course, when you have a book, you have some kind of a script, but you have to make some kind of adjustment for this story. Yeah. What kind of adjustment did you have to make, and how was how were they intertwined into the whole process?
Yeah. We as you see in the end, we say it's inspired on the novel because it's not a book, it's not a movie about the book. And you have to take the story and turn it into something that you can tell in a movie. But then also in this case, it had to be like a story inside a story that we were telling. So we changed some elements to match what was going on with Inés's life. But the most relevant or most curious fact is that in the novel, in the end, when they play the sitar and it's a deadly sound and they run away, in reality, when she wrote it, it's a big lens that burned all of the enemies. So it was very violent, and they killed all the men, which was something that while we were producing it, the Ukraine war broke out. And that made us think a lot because we believe in nonviolence and we don't like wars and we're against wars. So at that moment we decided we needed to change the elements. So instead of killing them, they had to be sort of forced away by something. So we changed that killing to the assassination to sort of shooing away. Obviously, this is something that women would prefer as in Ladyland than the violence.
Ja, kot pravi, je bila inspiracija roman. Niso želeli seveda narediti adaptacije oziroma se zgolj naslanjati na samo delo, ki je bilo izhodišče. Hkrati pa so morali narediti ogromno spremembo pripovedi, ker kot smo videli, gre za zgodbo o zgodbi. Ne gre torej samo za roman iz leta 1905, ampak predvsem za to, kako ga Inés, ki je nekakšna posodobitev Isabel, dojema. Kot pravi sam, je v realnosti ena velika razlika ta, da je v tistem prizoru, ko je potrebno pregnati moške nasprotnike, ki so prišli nad mesto, v originalu bila leča tako močna, da je uničila in ubila vse moške. Zaradi same vojne, ki je v zadnjih letih izjemno aktualna, žal tudi v našem vsakdanu, pa so se odločili, ker verjamejo v nenasilje, da bodo vse skupaj spremenili in da ne bodo ubili vseh moških, temveč jih bodo samo pognali v beg z enim takim zvočnim strojem. Tako da je bilo kar nekaj adaptacij oziroma prilagoditev same osnovne knjige. Je že kakšno vprašanje strani občinstva? Aha. Takole vam damo mikrofon. Najlepša hvala za pogum. Verjamem, da bo vprašanj kar precej.
Congratulations for a very good film to show us how they think on the other side of the world. And I have a question. What means the rain at the end of each episode?
Okay, good question.
Torej, kaj pomeni dež oziroma zakaj je dež na koncu prizorov? Tako.
I don't know if I can answer that. It's such a good question. No, it has a meaning. But I'm going to have to answer that the rain is just something that's very typical in India, and it comes back to water and the life and how everything is cyclic. And then the hint is where they're playing, when Krishna is playing the flute and he's making all the ladies fall in love with him and go into the water, and then he picks it up and shakes the water. This one's a secret I'm keeping, but I'll tell you another one that I can tell, which is the blue bird that is constantly coming back. That's Rokeya Hossein watching over Ines and making sure she walks along her story.
Ja, torej, Dež je nekako spremljal celotno zgodbo oziroma je izjemno pomemben v celotni indijski kulturi in kot pravi sam v tistem prizoru, kjer Krišna igra flavto in gredo potem žene za njim v vodo, tam je nekako iskala Isabel celotno inspiracijo, hkrati pa nam je razkril še to skrivnost, da ptica v samem filmu pravzaprav pooseblja Rokejo Hossein, torej avtorico knjige iz leta 1905, kako spremlja Ines pri njenem potovanju. Torej je ta ptica nekakšen simbol te zgodbe v zgodbi. Ampak pravi odlično vprašanje, na katerega nima ravno direktnega odgovora. Tako da hvala za prvo vprašanje. Naslednje, the next question. I have to ask you also, Diego, about the languages. There's so many languages in this movie. You mentioned that there was probably nobody could understand the movie without subtitles. How crazy it was, to combine that many languages. How did you do it?
Well, for us it makes sense because it's like life when you travel and you don't understand everything that's happening or that's going on. So to hear it in your own language doesn't make sense just for a movie. So we want this more to be experiential. We wanted it to be more real, more documentary in that sense. So you listen, and sometimes you just have to stick with whatever the sonority is, with the music of another language. But that was important. That's something that we had to fight for, because for funding it's difficult to convince people like, this is a movie that no one understands and that it'll stay that way.
How many languages you had?
There's 5 languages. So there's Basque, there's Spanish, there's Italian, there's Bengali, and there's Hindi.
Ja, torej, v življenju popotnika, kot pravimo, je veliko nerazumevanj in je bolj pomembna ta realna izkušnja, ki nekako pooseblja dokumentarni film. 5 različnih jezikov so imeli, torej baskovsko, špansko, italijansko, bengalsko in pa hindujsko smo lahko slišali govoriti v tem filmu. Je pa seveda vse skupaj nekakšen zaplet, ko je potrebno priskrbeti financiranje, ko te vprašajo potem, iz katere države pa je ta film oziroma v katerem jeziku pa govorijo in jim našteješ 5 jezikov oziroma pošlješ originalni skript v teh 5 jezikih in so pogosto zmedeni. Tako da je res kompleksen projekt. Tamle imamo naslednje vprašanje. Takole. Hvala.
Jaz bi se zahvalila za ta čudovit film in za temo, ki ste se lotili, predvsem, da je izpostavljena, da Indija ni nobena izjema in da živijo v iluziji, če pričakujejo ali mislijo, da je v Evropi kako drugače. Lušno bi pa bilo, če bi se uresničilo to, kar film prikazuje, da bi ženske prevzele oblast. Me prav zanima, bi se vojna res tako končala, ko se je v tem filmu. Ampak oglasila sem se tudi zaradi neke asociacije, ko mi je padla na pamet zaradi dežja. Te knjige in tega filma ne bi bilo, če ne bi bilo dežja. Ker je tako zelo deževalo, se je morala nekam zateči, se je zatekla v muzej, je našla slučajno, vemo, da slučajev ni v življenju, knjigo in tako je pravzaprav dež bil tisti, kateri je botroval nastanku. Tako sem si jaz razlagala. Drugo pa je, da pa spere in oči. Za vsakim koncem se očisti in se odpre nova pot. Ena možna asociacija, pravega odgovora pa verjetno ni. Hvala lepa še enkrat, pa čestitke.
Najlepša hvala za vaše mnenje in komentar. So first, congratulations. Of course, the topic was really important and it showed that India is not an exception. Europe has the same problems, the same challenges. Yeah. And what the audience, what the lady said is that there was a part with this rain that is somehow driving the whole movie, because without rain she would not go to the bookstore, she would not find the book. And rain is somehow cleaning, is some kind of a healer. And we are also talking about it would be great if the story would be real in our life, because maybe the wars would end up on a different way. But this whole association of rain is a driving force in the movie.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Thank you.
Ja, torej mislim, da ste odlično ugotovili. Najlepša hvala za opažanje. Še kakšno vprašanje? Takole.
Well, I have never seen before the movie with 3 different animation technique. This is really something special for me, and I was extremely enjoying. My question is, how many people, how many painters were involved in this animation? Because this is not a piece just of movies art, but for me also a piece of painting art. And really very nice and extremely brave to use different techniques to explain the 3 different stories which are involved in this film. So, but the question, how many people, art people were involved in this animation? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you want to translate?
No.
No, go. Yeah, so this is not a usual movie in that sense. So going back to that, we made it in family. We were a very small team, a very limited budget. And because it was difficult to have people believe in our project, so we had to do this sort of ourselves. The short answer is there was only 3 people painting all the backgrounds. My aunt, Isabel, did almost everything, and she had another person that comes from painting, not from animation, but from painting, and another person who we got for, how do you say these, practicing, someone that comes to like their first job or whatever. Mm-hmm. So between these 3 people, they did all the backgrounds of the movie, all the ambience of the movie. And this is what gives Isabel her force. Like, this is what makes her movie so strong, because she has this way of interpreting color that goes beyond my realm. Like, she has such an amazing way of combining these things. And Isabel will be the first to tell you that she doesn't like animation films. And what I describe her movies are as moving paintings. It's more an artwork, I think. It's all about that and being inside like these worlds that she creates, and that they move slowly. So to sort of further your point, this is more of a art than animation, and in that sense, the artist had to be very present, and that was Isabel. And the 3 techniques, which sort of sprung naturally while we were making the movie, each came at its time when we had to make a decision. Like, it sort of grew in the process. But yeah, it's very brave. It's not very usual. And it's also something that made it more difficult for us to find funding, because when you see these, like when you try to find funding for a project, you have to make a package of it. You have to say, like, the movie will be like this is the story, this is how it will be seen, this is what you'll hear. And in that sense, we said, like, okay, so the movie is moving paintings. It's a very strong story about what it means to be a woman. But then it has lots of languages, but they don't say much. It's not, then there's not like a clear bridge in the script where it's like, this happens, then this happens, and then they resolve the conflict. So yes, so it was brave in many senses, and thank you for appreciating it. Yeah.
Ja, kot pravi Diego, na te 3 tehnike animacije, ki smo jih lahko videli, ne gre za običajen film. Že na začetku nam je povedal, da gre za družinski film, ki so ga pravzaprav ustvarili skoraj da vsi družinski člani. Hkrati so imeli omejen proračun, oziroma sredstva, ker je malo ljudi na začetku verjelo v ta projekt. Pravi, da so sprva risali oziroma ustvarjali animacije samo 3 ljudje. Teta je bila tista zadolžena za večino stvari, ob sebi pa je imela ne animatorja, temveč risarja. Tudi sama izhaja iz likovne umetnosti, ne iz animiranega filma. Ob risarju je bil tudi vajenec in vsi 3 so skupaj skrbeli za vsa ozadja, torej so bili nekakšna gonilna sila filma. Tisto, kar je zanimivo, je, da ne gre toliko za animacijo, kot gre, pravi sam, za gibajoče slike. Torej je svet nekako narisan, hkrati pa je tu umetnik ves čas prisoten, ne gre toliko torej za animiran film, kot gre za umetniško delo. 3 tehnike so nastajale sproti v procesu, sprva ni bilo jasno, da bodo uporabili vse 3 tehnike, ampak se je to postopoma v času nastajanja filma nekako razvilo. Izabel je tudi sama preko kratkih filmov preverjala določene tehnike, kako bi lahko jih umestila v ta celovečerni film in kot pravi sam, na eni strani torej gibajoče slike, na drugi strani močna tematika emancipacije žensk in pa številni jeziki. To so bili nekako 3 osnovni motivi za ta film, ki pa ga je bilo izjemno težko financirati ravno zaradi tega. Hvala za vprašanje tudi glede same tehnike animacije. Še kakšno vprašanje?
If not, I can say a few things.
Yeah, of course.
Was something about the sound. All the sounds are documentary. They've been recorded in the places where the action happens. And sometimes we decide even to get poetic, and like the silence that you hear is actually from a church in Venice that we went specifically to record because there's a Titian painting, and the whole moment, that sound is what we were looking for. And all the rains are also these monsoons that we recorded in India. Very, very obsessively recording rains.
Kot pravi, sam zvok je torej res posnet na avtentičnih lokacijah. Tudi tišino so želeli posneti v cerkvi v Benetkah, ker je pač tam bila potrebna, in dež so snemali z res vsemi možnimi zvočnimi napravami v monsunskem obdobju. Pravi, da so bili rahlo obsedeni s tem, kako pravzaprav zvok pripeljati na film. In ja, kot mi je prej povedal, so kar nekaj časa iskali tudi igralce, ko so recimo snemali v Indiji in poizkušali z njihovimi glasovi ustvarjati vse tisto, kar bodo kasneje v montaži potrebovali. Torej je bil proces raziskovanja in snemanja v Indiji predvsem glede zvoka izjemno natančen. Kasneje so seveda ustvarjali vso ozadje oziroma risali, ampak zvok je bilo pa potrebno posneti skoraj da v dokumentarnem slogu. Go on, Diego. Sorry.
Yeah. And what else can I say? Oh, and then maybe you saw that there's lots of film references in the movie. Of great films, masterpieces that we absolutely love. I mean, in many different places. Sometimes they're funny, like when you see Marcello Mastroianni in Italy, or sometimes they're great, like when you see the scene where the king is walking and you just see his feet. That's Sergei Eisenstein. But yeah, I mean, it's just countless. And I hope you saw some of those. Maybe the shower scene, that was Hitchcock.
Ja, kar nekaj.
There's Bollywood, yeah, Bollywood was a great one.
Kar nekaj torej filmskih referenc, na katere smo se lahko naslonili v filmu, kar nekaj prizorov, ki so nas morebiti spominjali na kakšno drugo filmsko delo. I wanted also to ask about the festivals. You had the premiere last September, so it's over a year that you're traveling with the movie, and you mentioned 100 festivals.
100.
You did not expect that to happen, and to travel a year and a half with the movie.
No, I am exhausted. I loved it. No, the reception that it's had is truly amazing. We did not expect it at all. Because as I said, from my point of view of production, it was so difficult to convince people that we needed to make this movie. Then to see it later be received so well, wow, it's so amazing. And we're going this weekend on Saturday. We're going to Switzerland to the European Film Awards, which are the most important European awards. And then we're also on the Oscars shortlist. It's something that has been really special to see the reception.
Ja, res lepo je slišati, da je bil film tako sprejet, vse skupaj, tudi njih seveda je vse nekako presenetilo, niso tega pričakovali, kot pravi sam, je uspeh neverjeten s 100 festivali v dobrem letu in v tem tednu bodo odšli v Švico, kjer so nominirani torej za Evropsko filmsko nagrado, gre za Evropske Oskarje, so pa v bistvu nominirani v 2 kategorijah, ne samo za najboljši animirani film, ampak tudi za najboljši film, kar pomeni, da so dejansko presegli samo okvirje animiranega filma. Do you think that there is a difference in animations that happened in the last years, that there is more independent movies,
For sure.
that somehow this scene went out of just big players, big studios?
Yes, yes. This is one of the things that we saw during the production of the movie. So it's been really great to see animation films pushing boundaries. Animation is not just for children; it's also for adults. It's just a way of expressing it differently, and it has its strengths. And to see things come out like Robot Dreams that was nominated also for Oscar, or to have Boy and the Heron, or anything. So animation films that start getting into normal film festivals, and this was important for us. Where we premiered was in San Sebastian, which is let's say an important film festival, but for 2 reasons. It was home; it's where we made the movie, but also it was a movie film festival, and it doesn't have to be just an animation film festival. So this is important for us, just like the values of the movie that we're pushing. That what we saw the translation, because it's been like 7 or 8 years in production, and to see also more women being involved in film and directing movies and producing movies, and also the acceptance of certain values that we have to change in our society, that we speak about. We've seen active changes, and this has been very special. This has been great. Like to like to see this wave is something that has been incredible these last years. Yeah.
Ja, res se je marsikaj spremenilo na področju animiranega filma v zadnjem obdobju, še posebej, da je nekako presegal tiste meje, da gre za risanke, ob katerih smo odraščali, torej ne gre za animiran film samo za otroke, ampak je nekak žanr, ki pritegne vse občinstvo oziroma različne profile občinstva, kot pravi, predvsem zaradi močnega sporočila. Hkrati pa pridobiva animiran film svoje mesto tudi med različnimi filmskimi festivali. Zanje je bilo izjemno pomembno, da premiero naredijo na festivalu, ki ni posvečen samo animiranemu filmu, ampak gre za filmski festival. Imajo to srečo, da v svojem domačem mestu v San Sebastianu imajo velik filmski festival in tam so lahko naredili premiera. Hkrati pa so v teh 8 letih nastanka filma videli, da je vedno več žensk vključenih, bodisi kot režiserk, producentk oziroma ustvarjalk animiranega filma, in da so z animacijo marsikatere zgodbe prišle na plano, zato so rezultati, ki se dogajajo na animiranemu filmu v zadnjih letih, res odlični, in jaz mislim, da to lahko potrdimo tudi z našim butičnim festivalom Animateka, ki ga imamo v Ljubljani, ki je res vrhunski in ki vsako leto pritegne ogromno obiskovalcev, praktično skoraj da ni nerazprodane predstave. Tako da animiran film definitivno zmaguje v zadnjih 10 letih. Še kakšno vprašanje strani občinstva? Upam, da nismo koga spregledali tudi na balkonu. Če bo kakšno vprašanje. Aha, tukaj le imamo še v drugi vrsti.
Just one short question. How was congratulations, fantastic movie.
Thank you.
How was the film received in India?
Oh wow, yeah, good question. It was received like in family. To go back and present it in India was so special. Everyone showed up, everyone who worked on the movie or who had some relation to the movie or everything. Because this movie, as I said, like it was made in family, people giving gifts to like, okay, I'll do the drawing, I'll do this, I'll do that. And it was sort of put together by many people. And to fly over there finally after COVID, because there was a moment that there was like 2-3 years that we couldn't go back. And to finally be able to go back with the movie being made and to see it being received so well in Mumbai, in Goa, Ahmedabad doesn't have a festival, but in Kolkata, which are like the important places that we go to, and now in Bangladesh as well. Bangladesh is a smaller country, but it's being distributed there. such a such a good reception. And it was the one that gave us the most fear because it's sort of like an ode to India. It's a love message towards India, what we love about it. And it's a very different society, so we thought they were going to judge us poorly, but no. We were surprised that it was so well received. But it's very well received in a very small circle, which is the artistic circle, or which is the film circle. India has, this huge disparity of classes and everything. So, in that sense, we still feel there's a lot of work to be done to be able to reach everyone. But yeah, well received in general, let's say.
Ja, torej na vprašanje, kako je bil film sprejet v Indiji, pravi družinsko, lepo se je bilo vrniti, vsi so prišli na projekcijo, zato ker zaradi pandemije koronavirusa praktično 2 leti niso odšli v Indijo, predtem so se pogosto vračali. Diego je rekel, mislim, da je bil 6-krat ali 7-krat v Indiji, medtem ko je Ines tudi živela, oziroma Isabel tudi živela v Indiji, skratka bila je ves čas prisotna tam in po 2-letnem postu so se lahko znova vrnili v Indijo in to s filmom, tako da je bil ta odlično sprejet na vseh projekcijah v Bombaju, v Goji, v Kalkuti, tudi v Bangladešu je dobil svojo distribucijo. Jih je pa bilo nekoliko strah, ker je film nekakšna oda Indiji, opisuje vse tisto lepo, kar radi izpostavljamo pri Indiji, hkrati pa gre za drugačno družbo in jih je bilo nekoliko strah tega sprejema. Pravi, film je bil odlično sprejet, to da v tistem majhnem krogu ljubiteljev filma, ljubiteljev animacije, medtem ko ima celotna indijska družba še kar nekaj izzivov, na katere je potrebno opozoriti. Še kakšno vprašanje? Ok, upam, da nisem spregledal kakšne roke. Mislim pa, da se lahko ob tej priložnosti zahvalimo tako Diegu, ki je prinesel odličen film, kot seveda tudi celotni Kinodvorovi ekipi, ki skrbi za to, da na filmskih srečanjih ob kavi lahko uživamo tudi v animiranih filmih in to v času Animateke. Tako da hvala seveda tudi vam, drago občinstvo, za pozornost in za vprašanja in pa še en velik aplavz našemu gostu Diegu.